But in the hiring piece, what is the one question you would ask somebody to see if they actually had a customer service? Because we need the stud. We don't need the donkey. We need the stud to be the customer service rep. What is the question you would ask?
You're throwing me a curveball. I mean, one of the things, and I'll go back to what I said in the previous episode, is
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Cheers, Alan.
cheers, good to see you.
Good to see you talking customer service again.
Because I can
Customer
talk
service?
about it forever. And I just talked over you because I'm so excited. Because
He's too excited.
I'm a customer service freak.
Freak.
That's right.
Customer service freak talking. Here we go. Customer service part 2. Here we go. Where do we pick it up? You said something before we got started.
It's a cultural thing. It's
So
a
let's talk about
top-down thing.
What does that mean?
Well, you can interpret it in a lot of different ways, but you can't be an ass and expect your employees to be awesome, would be one way to look at it. If you're the kind of person that smiles to the customer as a leader, but then complains about the customer to the rest of the staff, you're setting an example. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but it's a top-down thing, so you have to totally understand that. And it's not just customer satisfaction, it's customer loyalty is what you're looking for. And there's a distinct difference. But if you're not 100% focused on that, which right now during COVID, there's so many businesses making so much money that just absolutely suck right now because they're the only people who can fog a mirror, who will answer the phone and show up and do a job. But when things kind of return back to normal, it's the level of service that you provide that's going to ultimately dictate how successful you're going to be. But it gets right down to it. It's your people. So it starts with you, and it's the people that you have. And so it starts with hiring. And one of the things I like to say is you can take a donkey and you can give it the best trainer that you can possibly give and feed it the best food and the best regimen, the best jockey, he's still going to lose the Kentucky Derby.
So I shouldn't bet on the donkey going to
You shouldn't bet on the donkey. No.
Damn it.
Even though...
Another reason I keep losing those things.
Drinking a Heineken Light?
Hey, I'm trying to keep the slim figure, big boy.
Yeah, it's
You
working,
keep
isn't
pumping
it?
me up with these IPAs. And all we did to the last episode was talk about restaurants. And all I keep thinking about right now is, man, I got to find a restaurant. I'm hungry. No, but I'm drinking my Heineken Light. But you can't take a donkey and win the Kentucky Derby.
You can't.
So you got to hire for what?
I honestly believe, and in home services, you have to have competency and skill. But in many other businesses, the question is would you rather hire experience or would you rather hire character and enthusiasm and charisma? I lean towards the charisma piece and the character piece. I hire for character first. And so if you hire the right person with the right DNA, so in home services, the baseline is you have to be able to do XYZ job. That's your first hurdle. But once you get over that hurdle, before I offer somebody a job, I'm looking for character and I'm looking for interpersonal dynamics and I'm looking for somebody who actually cares what other people think about the job that they do.
We're not going to make this a hiring episode. We're going to talk about customer service. But in the hiring piece, what is the one question you would ask somebody to see if they actually had a customer service? Because we need the stud. We don't need the donkey. We need the stud to be the customer service rep. What is the question you would ask?
You're throwing me a curveball. I mean, one of the things, and I'll go back to what I said in the previous episode, is it's easy to provide customer service when everything's going right and the customer's happy. So I might ask a question that would be, tell me about a time, one of those behavioral type questions.
Right.
Things didn't go well.
That's where I would go,
What
yeah.
did you do?
Just to hear how they'd answer. Because even if they don't have a great answer, but they're thinking and they're doing the old chin hold and the thoughtful response, and you can tell they're not trying to bullshit you and that they're actually going to try to come up with one.
So we're explicit again. Is that what we're doing?
Well, we're still explicit. Yeah.
Is that how long do you?
Hey,
keep
I hope your
how
son
long do you-
enjoys that I keep it explicit. Big
I
boy.
know it actually made me more popular with my family. How long do you keep the explicit thing? Is it episode by episode in podcast?
We could choose to do it episode by episode.
Oh.
But I don't think we're ever going to be a Blue's Clues level rated G for the family. Although I do think the kids would enjoy my humor. My nephews do. So.
And for people who don't know Chris, he is holding back so much.
I'm trying to keep it on a level for everybody,
They're
but
getting 15% of Chris.
everybody, sometimes a little less Chris is okay, but we'll take 15%. I think that you got to hire those stallions. We talked about this in the beginning. You got to hire for studs when it comes to customer service in the beginning.
Right.
But we talk a lot about sometimes, as Donald Rumsfeld said in the war back in the 90s, when unfortunately a number of my buddies had to go overseas. I did not, thank God. But he talked about what happened over there is, they were really attacking him and said, and the press was attacking him saying, I can't believe we're going into this war and why are guys getting killed by IEDs and why are we going into this war in Iraq and doing all these things and you're not prepared and you don't have the right equipment, you can't do all this stuff. And he stopped him dead in the tracks and said, sometimes you have to go to war with the army you've got, not the army you want. And it was a good point. And while a number of people obviously lost their lives in that because of some of the IEDs, that's part of war. I don't mean to make that a downer, but to bring it back, sometimes you have to go to war with the army you've got. I can't always get studs. So how do I take those good customer service people? Maybe they're not excellent. Maybe I didn't get the A player. Maybe I didn't get the number one. How do I get them to answer the phone better or to provide that great customer experience that I want?
Well, and it goes back to the character piece to me. If you may not get that A player, but you can find that diamond in the rough who has the right character, who wants to be an A player. I would much rather have somebody who just wants to be the best but doesn't know how to do it than somebody who's got all the talent in the world and doesn't bring it every day.
So you got to have the want to.
Yep.
I like the want to.
Yep.
So you got to ask for the want to. You got to see if they've got it. Because you're right. Customer service, it is easy to train somebody who has the want to. It is hard to train somebody who doesn't have it. But you can't take the donkey and win the Kentucky Derby. I'm going to go back to that one again.
No, and there's other things that you've got to do. I mean, you have to empower your team to solve problems. And that may mean, and I don't know, do you do this? Do your people have the ability to solve a problem financially? Do they have kind of a slush fund? Like you got up to $200 a job in discretionary money if something comes up to just solve a problem right away. I mean, that's
the Ritz-Carlton move. You've probably heard about that. So I'm a huge fan of Horst Schultz.
You are a Horst Schultz freak.
I am a Horst Schultz freak, and I've sent him a book, and he still hasn't responded. I'm not saying I'm hurt. I'm just deeply, deeply offended.
Horst would be a great guest.
I would love to get him on, and I know he lives here in Atlanta, and I'm going to stalk him even more to see if I can't get him on, because
restraining order
for me, the Ritz-Carlton was a preeminent. That is my best customer service moment in two different instances. But, and I know I'm getting way off topic, and I'm going to have to just hammer it home. The first time I ever got to go to Ritz-Carlton, I was a manager in consulting, and I went down for a manager's conference. And I was a single man going to this hotel. And when I pulled up in my rental car, they came out, they opened the door for me. The service starts right off the bat. Welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. How can we help you? Let me help you out. I had one bag. I'm traveling. I'm very light. It's easy. They knew I wanted a quick entry and a quick exit so I can get to my room. They expedited me through the line. I made the fatal mistake of asking a young lady where the bathroom was. She grabbed me, didn't touch me. She just said, follow me this way. And
well, you did say you were a single man.
I was.
Yeah. She grabbed you.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I took it.
Yeah.
And she showed me right to the bathroom, to the whole awkward point of I'm sitting there going, are you going to come in with me to the bathroom? Or all you had to do was point, man. You could have just pointed. I was good. So I come back. I go up to my room, and the Ritz-Carlton was amazing. The experience, the service. It was my pleasure. The way they treated you, they would always walk by. And even if you walk by the guy who was fixing the door, because I was in consulting at the time, but I still have an affinity for all things skilled trades. And I just saw the guy working. He stopped to tell me what he was doing. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm taking you away from your job. He goes, oh, it's my pleasure. I'm just fixing this door.
And he's a tradesman at the Ritz-Carlton.
He was a tradesman at the Ritz-Carlton. And so he did that. So
that reminds me of the, have you heard the John F. Kennedy story when he toured NASA?
No.
So Kennedy's touring NASA, and as the story goes, I'm probably telling it wrong, but he's walking around, he's shaking hands, and obviously everybody's excited he's there, and tell me what you do, and oh, I'm working at Mission Control, and and he sees the janitor, and he says, he introduces himself to the janitor and says, what do you do here? And he goes, I'm helping put a man on the moon.
I like it. Purpose.
Yes.
Purpose. I have not heard that one. I love that one.
Yeah.
I think they all have it at the Ritz-Carlton. Again, I've read his book, Horst Schultz again. I go back again. This time I bring my family. And I have a young family at the time. My wife is flying in. I'm driving the kids to Orlando to the Ritz-Carlton. I had a 3-year-old I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. They were 3 years apart. So both in car seats. I pull up. Car packed to the gills because, of course you can't have 2 kids and not have like an entire trailer full of shit in your car with you. I pull up. This time I didn't get one person opening the door. I had 4. One opened my door, one opened my daughter's door,
Wow.
One opened my son's door, and one opening up the back. Welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. It is our pleasure. We're going to take care of you because what was I so worried about? I was worried about my kids and their safety, and they knew it. They knew the minute I pulled up, they changed their entire delivery method and moved that with me. They had me with, of course, 25 carts and a whole ensemble. And I think they brought the elephants out to make sure that we could all make it up to the room. And I didn't even have to go to the desk. They said, give me your card, sir. I'll take care of it. I want to make sure you stay here with your children. He checked me in. Now, this is all before.
So they do not have one-size-fits-all service.
They don't have one-size-fits-all service. Of course they don't. They also have a thing, and Horst talks about this, and I listened to this in a podcast. I forget the number. But the number's in the thousands. Every employee there has a discretionary fund up to something in the thousands that they can spend. And only once has he ever had it used. And when somebody lost their engagement ring in a Caribbean island, the guy went out and bought 2 metal detectors, went across the beach to find it. And that was his, I'm going to go buy these metal detectors, and I'm going to go out there with my friend from the Ritz-Carlton, and we as Ritz-Carlton employees are going to go find that ring for that lady.
That is awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I think that was their service mantra is the best, and the way they do it. And I always go back there. Now the question I ask, and I ask this to many people: why do you go back to the Ritz-Carlton? Because the hotel next to you may charge $200 a night. They may charge up to $3,000 a night. Yet you go there. But what do they have? A pillow, a bed, a bathroom, and a door so you can be private. What do you have at the Holiday Inn? No offense to Holiday Inn, right next door in a beach. You have a pillow, you have a bed, you have a bathroom, and you have a door to close to make it private. You're getting the same thing.
You may have a few cockroaches.
Okay, you might have a few extra friends in the room with you, a.k.a. bedbugs and cockroaches.
The carpet might
Nothing
be
against
a little moist.
Yeah.
There could be a chalk outline, but other than that,
But
it's
people
the
go
same
there.
thing.
And they keep going back to that scene. They keep going back and they repeat customers. And they're like, because they know what to expect when they get there. And they know, in my case, the consistency of delivery was different. But they were able to see that one size doesn't fit all. Business traveler, in, out, go. Family man, protect the family, get the family's jewels all together, make sure he stays with the kids, gets them checked in correctly, gets them all out the door. He feels very safe, and he's got them all up in the room, and he is freaking out anyway because the kids are going nuts in the lobby.
They have the ability to make you feel like you're the most important person there. And you know darn well you're not. Well, maybe you were because you were a big baller.
Well, I am me. I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Of a big deal.
But no, I'm not a big deal. That's just it. And we talk about that in customer service here at the Trusted Toolbox. When an estimator goes to a job, you don't look at somebody when you're looking at their job and say, I'm going to get you your estimate after I get to the other 3 that are in front of you. Because what did you just tell that customer?
You're not as
You're not as important as the other three in front of you.
Yeah, they may be more important.
But everybody is important. And if you don't make that customer feel important, they are not going to enjoy the rest of that transaction.
Yep.
But they really like that stallion that you hired in the beginning who answered the phone and smiled on the phone and was really cool and set up that appointment. And you can absolutely harpoon it and take it right down.
It's amazing, just a turn of a phrase can absolutely, completely change things. You have to actually be really thoughtful. And when you talk about training, I mean, there's so many little things that you can say that you meant well, but it didn't come across correctly. But one of the things that, you always want to talk about the process and how do you train, and you're going to have some obstacles, and I'm sure we're going to have a podcast coming up on conflict resolution. This isn't really conflict resolution, but my guess is in your industry, just like in my industry in real estate, there's common scenarios that come up. And have you distilled it down to like, here's the top 10 things that are probably going to come up that might cause this situation to go south, or we can turn it into a positive. And I don't know if I'm explaining that well enough, but
I'm catching on.
In real estate, for example, you have somebody that wants to lease a new space, and they want to move into the new space, say January 1st. So they think and let's say it's August. They think they've got all the time in the world.
Right.
But you have to actually find some spaces to look at. Then you have to go look at the spaces, and then you have to pick one. Then you get into lease negotiations. And what they never factor in is, more often than not, it's going to require some build out, which means architectural drawings, permittings, today's world, getting a contractor to show up. Once you sign the lease is when it triggers all that. You're looking at 120 days. So if you're in real estate and you don't start off with that conversation, when do you want to be in your space? Now, keep in mind, we need to back into 120 days from that target date, and that needs to be when we have to have our lease signed. Then suddenly, the picture and the landscape becomes more clear. If you don't mention that, then they may drag their feet and they bumble along into November, and they're like, hey, we got our lease. Okay, go ahead and just, build it out, and I can move in January 1st. No, you're not going to be in there until March.
So you have to educate your customer.
Well, but you just have to know these scenarios, and in whatever industry you're in, there's probably 10 different common scenarios that come up where it can be a problem, which, by the way, one of the greatest leaders I've ever had the opportunity to work with never used the word problem.
What's the word we use over a problem?
Challenge.
Shit show? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. Here we go. Explicit again.
Challenge. Let's go ahead and thank one of our sponsors. Are you in the home service business and train your employees to represent your company in the right way when they're taking care of customers? Are they providing a 110% customer experience? If you aren't getting those rave reviews that you expect, or those repeat customers that you crave, then you need to get the HomeServiceInstitute.com training programs. These training programs talk the language of your technician and help them figure out how to align your goals with their wants. Go ahead and check out the HomeServiceInstitute.com and all of their training modules, and they will turn your employees into 110% customer experience providers. That's the HomeServiceInstitute.com. And now let's get back to listening to what the guys have to say. Challenge.
Never use the word problem. He was always positive. Talk about a positive. His customer service scores were off the charts for his region. And all of his people, it was almost obsessive, like how amazing they all were. But it came from him. And he just was always positive. He was the guy that showed up early in the morning. He didn't abuse his power. He made the pot of coffee for everybody. But when something came up, it wasn't, guys, we have a problem. It was, guys, we have a challenge here, but what we have with this challenge is an opportunity. So it's a challenge and opportunity. Yeah. And so you could take that challenge and it's an opportunity to learn, grow, make somebody happy, blah, blah, blah. But you go back to those 10, what are the 10 little situations that could come up? So for me in real estate, if I have somebody who's looking for space, I know that little 120-day delay from when you actually sign the lease to where you can actually take the space is something that's going to come up. So I know now if I brought somebody onto my team, that's going to be something I'm going to train them specifically for. how to educate, and it could be more of a, what happens if the Delta faucet doesn't come in that you talked about before?
Right.
How do we actually deliver that news? What do we say to a customer when the job that you were on before took an extra 2 hours and now you're backing everybody up? So training for those very specific things that are, if you teach people how to handle 10 situations that routinely will come up, it's going to kind of build within their DNA, their core of, well, in general, this is how I solve a problem. And hopefully they can extrapolate. So if it's the 11th thing or the 12th thing that you've not trained for, they can kind of go back to what they've learned on those 10.
Well, you hit it. So, one, you hire for the stallion. You don't hire for the donkey. And when you bring them in, you give them the bandwidth to solve a customer problem. When I said the word problem instead of challenge, I know. But they go ahead and they can solve it within the parameters you're given, especially when you're given that top-down culture of, we are here to solve a problem. When in home services, people call you because they want something. I want my bathroom remodeled. I want my hot water fixed. I want my HVAC fixed. I want a new front door. Maybe I want a new outdoor living center. Whatever it might be, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of luxury items. It doesn't matter. But they call you for a reason, and they have a need. And when the need doesn't go the way we expected, or the service wasn't going the way they wanted to, or they had this unrealistic expectation that you would be out tomorrow morning to remodel their bathroom, and you just called me at 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, they have the wherewithal to solve their problem for them and take that challenge and opportunity and educate the customer to get them to understand that we're going to do the very best we can, but it's got to be this.
And most of the time, it's common sense stuff, but it's amazing how it just doesn't come instinctively for some people. And it could be for positive reasons. So you may have an employee who thinks, oh, I can't give some of Chris's money away. So they're actually trying to protect you. And as a result, they're hurting you because
Correct.
They don't understand the big picture. You need to put things in perspective for them.
Yeah, that's totally correct. If you don't give them the wherewithal to solve a problem. So we actually came up with escalation protocol. And Chris is the last line of defense. And Chris has also learned this one, and this is one I would drop to everybody right now. As you become a leader of a company or a group, the question you want to ask back when they bring you back that problem is, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do? How would you solve this? Especially if they don't come with a solution. Now, because my guys have heard that from me for years, they always come in and say, here's the situation. This is what I think we got to do. And yes, I think I need to have you get involved.
I love that.
This is what I'm going to do. And I just wanted you to be aware of that this might blow up, and I'm going to let you know now. I'm like, great. I agree with your decision and rationale. Let's go do that.
I used to actually, early on in my management career, I was so excited to give people the answers that I never let them develop. And they would just come to me like little baby birds looking for their worm because I had it for them every single time.
And you just regurgitate it back out to them.
Oh, yeah.
You do this, and you do this, and you do this. And you went, yes.
I am so awesome. I have the answer for everything.
Good night, Atlanta.
They just became dependent on me. And if I weren't there, if I were on vacation, they wouldn't know what to do. And so somebody actually taught me that. I had to write it down, and I put it on my computer and on my phone. What would you do? What do you think, actually, is what I put. What do you think?
That's a big one for me to get into because sometimes they're right and sometimes they need some coaching and I help them through it a little bit more. And then sometimes I get the, thank you, Obi-Wan. That's why I come to you. I'm like, right. Yes, now go execute on that.
Yep.
Because customer service, not everything goes right. We're going to talk about that in another episode about conflict resolution and what to do and all the principles around that because you have to do the right things. You also have to communicate more of the right things.
And I get to talk about the caterpillar sandwich.
And you get to talk. You've been holding on to this for
it's
months.
Such a good teaser.
Yeah.
But what about testing and measuring on customer service? I know we only have a couple minutes to go. Do we have some time to talk about that?
I think testing and measuring is going to be a big one, but we'll just hit on that a little bit.
Okay.
In my short story, the quick summary is if you don't have some kind of an exit interview with your customers, you're not going to be able to do this the right way because testing and measuring comes from that. Now, an exit interview, back to my consulting days, an exit interview could be close to 5 pages of questions that they would ask after a consulting engagement. Do you know how many questions I would answer today of that 5 pages?
4.
Well, the over-under was 2.5. So you were over because I would have been under.
I didn't win the Fabulous Showcase.
You did not. Don Pardo does not get to tell you what's going on. He does not get to go on to the Price is Right showcase. What we found with this is over the time, especially on the size of the transaction, people are going to give you feedback. Again, if you did it negatively, they're going to tell everybody. They're going to go out there and become the town crier. They're going to go out there online and they're going to let you know exactly what's going on. If you get in front of that from a customer experience perspective and get an exit interview, which could be as simple as, I'm going to ask you one question. Would you refer your friends to us? You could ask 3 questions. What could we have done better? What did you like about our service? And then the last one, because this is the telltale, would you refer your friends to us?
Which goes back and it reinforces my point of customer loyalty is more important than customer service. And that question determines whether or not you actually have earned their loyalty.
Yeah, and a couple podcasts ago, you actually asked me if I would reward people in referrals by giving them a gift card. Hey, thank you for referring me to your friend. Here's a $25 Home Depot card. And you said, I can't believe that. And
because you said no, because you're like a big miser.
Because I am a big cheap miser. But the people were offended. They're like, no, don't give it to me. I referred you because I'm loyal to you and I'm showing you that I care that much. Give it to my friend that you're doing the work for. And that happens over and over, and that's that customer loyalty thing. When you get a good, loyal customer base and you do this, what you need to do is protect them. And this is where I'm going to go back to Horst again. You have those 3 customers. You have the loyal ones, you have the ones who are about to leave you, and you have those ones who are about to slay you. And he didn't put it like that, so Horst, I took a little creative license with that, but it's
Horst's
true.
podcast is not explicit.
I think if Horst came out, I wonder if he would let me be explicit. Maybe he won't come on unless
I bet you he'd give you a fatherly look that would make you feel really bad and you'd never swear again.
He probably would put the white gloves on and give me the smack across the cheeks. You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Challenge you to a duel.
How dare you say those words? I'm like, but I say them every freaking day. Actually, every hour. But back to the loyalty thing, those exit interviews, those questions on the way out, we've actually distilled it down now with our technicians. And we use one line, and here comes the other gold. We give them a review card. So my guys are not the most personable and interpersonal people. They are great artists and skilled trades, and they're great at what they do. But I ask them at the end of every transaction to give a card to the customer, and it's a review card. And it says, and I ask them, and they have to memorize this. It would mean the world to me if you would give me a review. If I didn't earn 5 stars, please let me know and I'll make it happen. Because I know right then, the customer, if something wasn't right and they felt like they had a good connection with the person and he was not being threatening, would say, well, I just wish you would have wiped down the baseboards over there. Ma'am, let me take care of that right now. While he's wiping down that baseboard, that lady is over there scanning the review tool, putting her review in the phone, and grabbing $20 out of her billfold and giving him a $20 tip. I've heard this over and over with my guys. And when they don't do it, we know about it because we'll get the email that says, he was a nice guy, bud. I need you to come back and wipe down the baseboards. He was a nice guy, bud. He didn't finish everything he was supposed to. He was a nice guy, bud. I think you guys put him in a bad position. He was a good person. He was good at what he was doing, but you screwed him up. But when they put that review card in front of them, when you're looking eye to eye with somebody, we talked about eye contact a lot in one of the episodes.
Huge.
It is hard to look at the guy and go, well, you know what? I think you're a big moron. It's easier to say, well, there's just a few things I wish you could fix up. And what I tell my technicians, that 1 hour on the outside, if it's really bad, that 1 hour right now saves you a trip back to go redo something. That also might earn you a tip. And it also might earn you a 5-star review, which we also reward here in the company.
There is so much, and I know we really have very little time to talk about it, but I just got to say, when your employee knows that they're going to be saying that at the end, it makes them do a better job the rest of the time because they have to live up. I mean, how horrible would you feel if you just sucked all day and you knew it, and then you're like, yeah, you're really important to me. Could you give me a 5-star review? You just you can't do it.
Or you slink away and don't even ask for the check at the end of the transaction.
Yeah.
You're like, you think you did so bad that the best thing you can do is load up all your tools in your truck or your van and leave and never even ask for anything. That's when we know things didn't go so well.
But you have to ask, and this is so critical, and we just have to promise to do another podcast on this.
All right, I'm going to let Alan do another one.
No, but how you ask for that feedback is so important. So back to a restaurant, server comes up to you. So is everything great? I hate that because, either I'm going to have to go, no, it really, really, or how was everything? It was fine. Those are kinds of statements that just aren't giving you the information that you need. You need to make it okay for the customer to tell you.
You have to be approachable and vulnerable,
Yes.
which is hard to train for as well, especially in the home services space where most of your guys are confident artists and you want them to be confident. It is hard to be vulnerable and confident at the same time when you're asking for that at the end because you don't want somebody to say that what you just did was bad.
Well, and the thing is you think that the customer is always going to come at you with pitchforks and torches, and they're not.
Not interpersonal relationships.
They're
the most
not.
personal is right here, face
They're
to
not.
face.
And so if you actually look at somebody and go, you're a really important customer to me, your opinion means a lot to me, referrals mean a lot to me, is there anything I could have done better? Just something really sincere. Did you like what I did? Is there anything I could have done better? Is there anything I can do for you now before I go? And they're just going to melt in your hands.
They are, especially when you're in person. You reminded me of one of my other pet peeves on the phone. So I have a gas card. I call to get my online access restored. I call, so I need to get my online access restored. My password says I've been blocked. I need a new one. I can't help you with that right now. I have to transfer to somebody else to do that. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I said, yes, I'd like to get my password reset so I can get back into my portal. I can't do that. I have to transfer you to tech. Is there anything else I can do? I'm like, you really have a script, don't you? You love that script. I said, I just want to get logged back into my portal. That's all. You can't help me. No, I said, transfer me. The postscript to that one is it took 20 minutes and they hung up on me. So I still can't access my gas card portal. But is there anything else I can help you with today?
Yeah.
No. Yes. Give me access to the portal. So you got to be approachable and vulnerable, and you can't be scripted. To your point, you have to be genuine. You have to show that. And training that one line, you've got to remember that one is huge.
But you're not going to be able to train a donkey to say that right.
So that donkey's not winning the Kentucky Derby.
No.
You're going to have to go to war with the army you've got. You've got to train that army to be the very best you possibly can. But you've also got to lead with authenticity, and you've got to, because if you in one breath sit there and go, man, customers, they're cheap, lazy, and stupid, which I put in my book. It wasn't me. It was a different company. But if I sat there every time and went, well, we know our crazy customers. They're all nuts. They're all cheap, and they're all lazy, and they're all stupid. All right, go out there and give a great 110% customer
There's
service.
top-down leadership.
Yeah, so you can't do that. You've got to stay there. You got to be authentic about it because customers are what makes the world go round. The variations and the variables that are all sitting out there, working in people's houses, I'll say it again. Advantage Ritz-Carlton, when people go there, they know what to expect. Advantage Chick-fil-A, you know what to expect. Advantage QT here in the Southeast, you know what to expect from a QT gas station when you go. But when we come to your house, there are very little expectations. Maybe HGTV, maybe YouTube, maybe their friends, maybe their dad, maybe their mom, but not them, and they have no expectations. And they're all thinking you're going to come in looking like Pigpen and blow the house up. We can go on for hours, but let's just go ahead and put it down. Top down, got to hire good people who get it and want to. And then you have to train around what makes common sense, because I believe the checklists and giving them the bandwidth and the opportunity to take care of people who says, I have a challenge, and making you the last line of defense, as long as you set up the parameters for them to solve the problem, that's the way to go. I think with
You
customer
got to
service,
empower your employees, and they'll take ownership.
because they want to. The employees want to help people. If you've hired the right people and you put that in front of them, and when you get them in front of you and you say, look, at the end of the day, without customers, we don't have a business. The reason when I left SunTrust, and I've told this to my team a lot, was that at SunTrust, I found myself doing more and more arguing internally about getting the right resources or getting the right budget or justifying why my group was doing a great thing. None of which was helping a customer get a loan for a building that they wanted, customer getting an operating limit on a line of credit so they could go out there and buy more materials, a customer who wanted to get a checking. I wasn't doing anything customer centric. I said, that's the best part about what we do, is that we get to do customer centric stuff here and solve people's problems and get to go out there and be, as we coined the phrase here, badass miracle workers. Because that's what our skilled trades guys are, badass miracle workers.
That's awesome.
Just making sure explicit stays on a capital E.
Well done. All right, next time we're going to talk a little conflict resolution, right?
Is that the caterpillar sandwich?
It could be the caterpillar sandwich.
Here's the teaser, everybody. I don't even know what the caterpillar sandwich is, and he's told it to me 3 times. This ought to be good.
See you next time.
Till next time, make it a great day. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve that higher altitude you're looking for in the wild world of small business ownership. And until next time, make it a great day.